I'm like, what have I done? What have I done? Why have I done this? This isn't just went bad, this has gone catastrophically wrong, and I'm a freak now. The only sensation I have is like deep pain. I kept having this phrase thrown at us, like, you're an ideal candidate for gender reassignment surgery. There was just like this desperate push to get us down this surgery.
And that was the last time you saw your own genitalia again, in male genitalia?
Yeah, it was probably the day before when I was going, what the f*** doing? I think.
The day before?
Yeah.
You said, what are you doing to yourself?
Yeah. I regretted it pretty much instantly. I just kind of looked like an animal had bitten at the area.
Did you really think about what it would feel like to wake up the next morning and not have anything?
No. No one's there to tell you, like, why it's gone wrong, or to really explain to you what the procedure is. They kept saying these lines like, oh, it'll give you decades of extra quality life. You'll be more congruent with your body, and you won't, you can wear leggings. It's not going to make your life longer. It's going to shorten it statistically. That's what we know from the research.
I can feel your anger speaking about it.
I'm really pissed. Why are we all just like taking this? I kept going back and I was like, I regret this. I shouldn't have done this. All I want to tell you is I just shouldn't have done this. And I kept saying no.
Yeah, and there might be people watching this now who are considering going through with the surgery.
Don't do it.
Would it be fair to say you were groomed by ideologues? Tell me a little bit about who you are first. Let's go with that.
Sure. So I am, my name's Ritchie. I don't give myself any labels anymore because I think the whole thing's a trap. But about 2.5 years ago, I went public with my story, which, to give you the very quick version, is I transitioned male to female, I had the surgery. By that I mean the full vaginoplasty, and I regretted it pretty much instantly. I coped for a couple of years, and I was trying to talk about this a lot in my circles, especially with health professionals, and I was just getting turned away. It was like a conversation you weren't allowed to have. And for a while, I was just completely beside myself. I thought, like, I've played my hand, I've lost, and I'm just gonna have to deal with it. And when I tried to talk about these problems, I found that I was getting restricted a lot in trans spaces, or there was like a hush-hush tone. Yes, I agree with you, but don't say that publicly. Because it's all about the cause, you see. You don't want to do anything that can dampen the cause or cause any problems for other people. You always get this line about you have to take your own responsibility, which basically means shut up and don't say anything because you did this. And I'm like, yeah, but I didn't hold the scalpels. I wasn't the one who signed any assessments. It took a team to get here. And at first, I was very much in that mindset of I blame myself and I just kind of want to work through this. So I went to the gender clinic about 3 months after surgery and I said, I regret this. And they went, no, you don't. Oh. And I was like, okay. And I was just getting gaslit because I've got obsessive compulsive disorder and I was diagnosed before I went in. And they tried to say that it was all an obsession and a rumination. It was part of the OCD. And I kept going back to them and I was like, I regret this. I shouldn't have done this. All I want to tell you is I just shouldn't have done this. And they kept saying no. And it literally drove us insane because I was like, all I want to say is I've made this huge mistake and I don't want others to get harmed, obviously, but I want to tell someone. And then after this, about a year back and forth after surgery with the gender clinic, they got me referred to a psychiatrist and a psychologist, and my gender therapist came with us, and they re-diagnosed us with OCD, and they diagnosed us with unstable personality disorder. That was how they categorized the regret, and they said it was all this part of this shift in unstable personality that you had. And I was just so pissed off at them. And then about 6 months after that, I got discharged, and I just felt like I got kicked to the curb. And then about the time I got discharged, lockdown was just about to start, and I was working from home a lot. And I started seeing myself on camera, and there was like video recordings, like of, like, say, a Teams meeting. And then I started to really like realize like just how I looked and stuff. And um because I was like one of those people like, oh yeah, blend in. I think everyone like has that cop of I blend in. I was like, I don't really.
You
And
felt you didn't blend in.
I think I blended in at one point, but like eventually you just kind of come to realize it's just like a sustained lie to yourself.
As a woman, like blending
Yeah,
in as a woman. Yeah.
blending in or to be perceived as a woman. And after sort of the regret and being told no, I just kind of became really annoyed that I couldn't talk about this. And then I just thought, right, that's my hand played. I'm just gonna cope and deal with it. And if I don't like it in a few years' time, I'll just
Oh
neck
man.
myself,
Yeah.
because I was literally just like, fuck this. And excuse me for swearing.
That's all right.
But I the problems I were having, I'm still having now, you know, like the pain and the urinary issues and the lack of sensation. And it felt really like cruel, because the only sensation I have is like deep pain and I don't get any pleasure. And I just really hated how everyone was like saying either it's all your fault, which obviously I accept responsibility, but how much do I need to accept? And in this is the question. And what do they mean by you need to take responsibility? Do they mean be quiet and just say it's all my fault? Because that's what I did, and it nearly finished us off. And what I wanted is I wanted a chance for myself and for others going through this, because no one's there to tell you like why it's gone wrong, or to really explain to you what the procedure is, and to really realize what those risks are as well. Because you get, when you have surgery, you don't get told about a lot of the stuff that I've been public about, like the pain and the lack of sensation. You get this sheet of odds, and it's like 1 in 2,000, 1 in 250, and it's like very minor, like granulation, infection. And you're like, yeah, of course, it's this big surgery. You're gonna get granulation, you're gonna get an infection, but it doesn't go into enough detail about, like, say, the stenosis, the necrosis, and the sensation lost, and also what it does to your psyche as well, because your brain never really kind of gets over it.
What was stenosis and necrosis?
Stenosis is the tightening of the urethral passage. So that basically means that you can't pee without extreme pain.
Oh,
it's like a constricted urethra. So I had that, and I had it very bad after surgery. Like I couldn't, even on a catheter, I couldn't empty my bladder, and it was like extreme pain because your bladder's full and it's trying to add more and it can't get out. And necrosis is the death of flesh, which is where you get the smell of dead bodies and that horribleness. Luckily, I didn't have necrosis. I know plenty of people who have. I know you've had previous guests who have praised the work of the likes of, say, Dr. My surgeon was Mr. And I think they're both absolute butchers. I know people who they've had disastrous complications, and he's just treated them like absolute crap, like disregarded them. And I'm just thinking, how dare you give a shout out to that person? Because I heard him say,
I can feel your anger speaking about it.
I'm really pissed. I'm really pissed off at how detransitioners get treated, and anyone who like has a decorum of regret in the space. You expect it to be all knowledgeable, you expect to have all the answers, and you also put on this crazy trial. And it's like, you don't just walk one tightrope, you can walk about 20 different tightropes. And if you slip on one, you get caught by the other crowd who are like, why did you say that? Why did you say that? And it's just like, holy shit, I'm just trying to tell you, I regret this and I shouldn't have done this. And I remember the lead up to surgery when I was trying to ask people, like, what was it? Like, what's it like? Is it good? And the ones who had like in hindsight, had really bad regrets, they would just say, no, it's okay. It's fine. I don't regret it. And I thought, why are we all just like taking this? Why isn't anyone like saying like, I shouldn't have done this, I shouldn't have had that surgery? And even if it went well, which basically means you have less complications, that's all that means, but you're still being castrated at the end of the day. But yes, I am quite angry about the whole thing.
How old were you when you started going down this path?
that starting point will differ, but if you want it like in terms of like perspective, but in terms of hard, when did I actually start the hormones? I started the anti-androgen goserelin on April 2014 when I was, how old would it have been? It would have been before I was just 27, a few months before 27th. And then I started estrogen earlier. So I was well into my 20s. I had one of those so-called developed brains that people keep talking about. Like, because, you know, at 25, you're apparently like bestowed with all this wisdom. But I had a terrible time in school. I had lots of what are like normal life issues for a kid. I didn't have anything like out of the ordinary extreme, but I did have a very bad time in high school. I had parental divorce and I was very isolated. And it's all like the cliches that you hear.
But it's sad. Even
it
cliche
is.
or not, it's sad. It's difficult to go through.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And so the thing I've never understood, I really want to try and understand it because it fascinates me, is was there a point then you felt like, hey, I'm a woman inside? And no.
No. I don't like, I need to like, I'm struggling to put this into words, but
you're doing a great job.
I wasn't in of sound mind when I transitioned. Certainly up to the lead up, I had a very chaotic few years, very extreme depression, extreme mental illness, and I just wanted a way out of that. I didn't want to be isolated. I didn't want to have like what I was dealing with, really severe OCD thoughts. So I had no one like treat the OCD. And
what was that like? I mean, because I have OCD, so I had to see a therapist when I was a teenager for OCD. Everyone has it in a different way. It manifests itself, but I couldn't sleep basically for 2 years because I was just checking doorknobs and I ended up ripping the door handle off my car because I pulled it so hard because I didn't believe it was locked.
Right, yeah.
And that was like, okay, I need help. I'm like stood there in like snow in my boxers outside the house with a door handle in my hand.
Horrible.
What was going through
your brain's like, oh, you need to do that. You need to. If you don't do that, everyone's going to die.
Yeah,
and you're like, this doesn't make sense, brain. Stop it. But I had the obsessive compulsive behavior, which is the checking. I had the ruminations, and I had the intrusive thoughts. I had a very, very severe case of it because what happened is it started when I was very young.
Okay.
I would say about 7 or 8 when it really started to kick off, and it just went untreated for 3 decades. And it's only this year I've had the treatment for it. And like going through that treatment is kind of, it's been life changing. Because my OCD, I think I've went through the worst of it now because everything's kind of been realised. But now it's like I just kind of put into context how much I was struggling with the OCD. Like I was so angry, no one really helped us with any of this before. And if I did have that help, it would have been a completely different story. And it gets like, it doesn't get enough like, how should I say, a reverence to that condition because it is extremely destructive and it can influence your thinking. And I didn't know anything about ego-dystonic thoughts or ego-syntonic, which is the thoughts that align with your values versus the ones you don't. And that's why OCD sufferers suffer, because it's like you have an ego-dystonic thought is, if I don't do this, this will come true. And it's kind of against your values, so you go off and do it because you don't want to be that thing. So you're constantly feeding these dystonic thoughts. But the opposite side of that is you don't want to do that, right? You're not that person, but you start believing that you are. Like I had lots of really violent OCD stuff about wanting to like throw hot water in people's faces. Like I've never done that and never will do that.
Do you think for people who've not had it, a good way to explain would be that feeling they get maybe in a school assembly where they're, I don't want to shout fuck in the assembly. I really don't want to do it. Don't want to do it. Or what if I just do it?
Yeah.
And people who suffer with OCD have that times 1,000.
Yeah, it's basically it is very much an internal struggle.
And did that play a part? So once the idea was in of I can change or transition, was that like, okay, this is going to be a reprieve that will fix everything?
Yeah, I felt like that. Like I felt like a lot of my issues might have been hormonal, and this ties in with a lot of other things like growing up, like trying to like come to terms with your sexuality and stuff like that. I had a crush on one of my closest friends from the age of like 8 to in my early 20s, you know, and I really struggled with that. I struggled crushing on the same sex, and there was a lot of those crushes to the point where I tried to make myself straight by um, using pornography, but it didn't work, obviously, because I would always end up to the gay categories. And I'm just trying to think, where am I going with this? It
God,
was,
that must have been a hell of an experience, and it's so sad that a lot of gay people have had to feel they have to do things like that. And,
yeah.
yeah, I can imagine you must have been watching and sort of like, oh, you know, and then maybe looking more at the bloke and going, oh, fucking hell.
But
why?
it was like an insane guilt trip after. You're like, holy shit, what have I done? Like, and I felt like I'd committed some crime in some sense. But there was no crime committed, but it felt like that because the OCD and stuff like that. I was just desperate for a way out of it. But I can say that in hindsight, but if you asked me then, I wouldn't have been able to piece it together in that way. I would have said, oh no, I always had dysphoria, because the description of gender dysphoria is a load of bullshit. It's like, oh, you feel uneasy with yourself. Find me somebody who doesn't feel uneasy with themselves, or somebody who takes risks, or somebody who's depressed or anxious. I'm like, holy shit, half the country. You know, exactly, right?
Yeah,
and
young people.
But when you're desperate and you're looking for an out, you're like, this is the out. And that's what I did. I took it.
So do you remember that first time going to, say, a doctor and saying, hey, I want to...
Well, the first time because I found online how to do it. You self-refer. So I rang the GP and said, yeah, I've always felt this way. And I mentioned like me upbringing, and I mentioned everything. I was quite honest, because I thought, if I am truly trans, the best thing to do is to be perfectly open and honest, which is exactly what I did. And I wanted to get to the bottom of everything, really. And that's why I kind of gave myself to the gender clinic in like everything. Like I told them everything I possibly could. And I had a lot of gender therapy sessions there. And I think if I didn't have that gender therapy sessions, I wouldn't have had surgery, because I wasn't interested, to be honest.
But they suggested you go through those sessions.
Yeah, the first question I asked was, have you given any thought to gender reassignment surgery? And I was like, no, not really. And they went, well, we'll be there when you're ready. And I was like, really, what I want help with, this is the OCD and all these other issues that I've got. And they referred me to the gender therapist. And then I ended up having 5 years worth of gender therapy with that person, which isn't real therapy.
It's quite thorough, though, 5 years.
It's crazy. It was... What you would think it's all about, like there's a model to follow, but it felt very maligned with queer theory. Like it was talking about the concept of cis sexism, internalized transphobia. So any internalized homophobia I had would be internalized transphobia. Any problem I had with the world not being accepted was because of societal cis sexism. And it was like being trained in a way. And there were little bits of therapy added in too.
Would it be fair to say you were groomed by ideologues?
I've got a real problem with that word, and I'm trying to articulate why I have a problem with that word. And
do you think because of the connotation of what we can't use the word on this channel, but PDF files, or we call them?
Well, yeah, I
separate
think,
meaning, of course.
Yeah, I think by that like sort of logic, a lot of people can get groomed, but I think it's just hoodwinked would probably be a better word. And there was just like this desperate push to get us down the surgery route, and if I didn't want to get us out because I had this massive waiting queue, which is understandable. And you know, and about 2.5 years into it, they said, if you don't want surgery, we'll just discharge you. But I was in a critical point with my therapist. A lot has happened in my life, and I was going through some very sensitive stuff with them, and they just said, if you don't want it, we'll discharge you. And I was like, oh shit, okay then, fine, I won't have it then. And I kind of accepted my therapy was going to end. And then I can't remember the exact time frame, because it was like such a hectic year as well. I was addicted to substances, I was misusing substances, I wasn't in a good frame of mind. And when I was talking to the gender therapist and I told him, I just decided no. I can't remember what he said it was, but there was something that he said that made us go, shit, I need to refer right now. Because it was like, you're like I kept having this phrase thrown at us, like, you're an ideal candidate for gender reassignment surgery.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know what that means.
It's like you've won a competition.
Yeah, it
And so
is.
few people, this is something, maybe a bias we all have. We all feel like we're the only ones who never won a competition, right? Because
Yeah.
have you ever won a competition? I don't think I've ever won a competition.
Yeah.
And most people are like, oh, I'm the only one who never wins. And I guess it's because most competitions, there's like thousands of people and
Yeah.
only one can win. So that feeling of like, hey, you're the ideal.
Yeah.
Like that's really, I'd like that.
Well, there was that. There was like a veneration, and then online, because I blended in like over time quite easily. But it was all like, again, that's a self-deception, because you take these photos, right, and you learn how to angle the camera just right. You learn what lighting, and you do this subconsciously. It's not like you go up and find how to do it, and you can take like 100, maybe 200 selfies a day, and then you delete all the ones you don't, that show the truth. And then you get that one that really kind of hides maybe my chin or the brow ridge, and you just see like this sort of like side profile with these high cheekbones.
Yeah.
Which I've got naturally high cheekbones anyway.
You do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a family thing, you know. It's just we're handsome bunch, I'm afraid.
Yes.
And you see like, oh, this is a reflection of reality. You start believing it, and you start sharing it, and people's like, oh, you look so beautiful, and all this sort
Was
of
this
thing.
pre-transitional?
This is both. You're always constantly doing it. It's constantly like, you need that validation and stuff. And I see this with a lot of activists, like big trans names and stuff, who will, I don't think they realize they're doing it, but they use their platform and under the guise of like promoting trans stuff, but it's all there to be validated, because you look on their like YouTube chats or you look in their comments, and it's all like, you're so beautiful, you're so gorgeous, and you can tell like that's why you're doing it. That's why I would have done it, and I'm not like being too judgmental, but I kind of am judging.
But what made you feel? Oh, look how beautiful I am as a woman here. What about as a man, being handsome as a man? Wouldn't that have given you a thrill in the same way?
I don't think I ever even thought of that. It was just so like, again, I wasn't trying to put my mind back then. It was like, it was just, there was a lot of chaos there. And I don't know, like, and now I'm just like, I don't want to be like a muscular, big, huge dude or anything like that. I don't mind being seen as a guy. Again, that doesn't bother us, and I don't know what's switched off, but something's switched off. And I mean, most of the time people perceive us as a very young dude, and that's fine, I guess. Like, worse things can happen. But I never really yearned to be like hyper masculine and like chiseled features and all that sort of thing. Like, there was a lot of that kind of going on in my family anyway, and I was like, I'm not like them. So, but I don't really relate to the men in my life, but I relate a lot to the women in my life. So therefore, it's,
Yeah,
the trans thing all
I see
over
that.
again.
I see that. I can get my head there. That makes sense. And then you went for the actual transition. And it feels like you were, to an extent, I mean, you say hoodwinked, coerced, maybe, or like they wanted this from you. Did you really think about what it would feel like to wake up the next morning and not have anything, or nothing, but not have male genitalia there anymore?
No, I literally didn't. And I know it sounds absolutely crazy, but I'm trying to like say, the person that is sat in front of you today talking is not the same person 5-10 years ago. Like, I've done a tremendous amount of work to work through the mental health issues, especially, and to be balanced and to be stable, to be healthier. And back then I just wasn't thinking clearly, and nobody really checked my understanding, and there was no conversation with the surgeon. You didn't talk to the surgeon, you talked to the head nurse. So he would be like in the corner typing on his computer, and the head nurse would be there. But there's almost always, there was like 2 other people in the appointment as well, because they do you in groups of 3s or 4s. So you don't really have a chance to like properly talk to them about it. And the time that you do get with them when they see what you've got down there is just literally, have you had enough hair removal? And they go, oh, yep, that's fine. Okay.
Have you had enough what?
Hair removal.
Hair removal. Oh, right. For the surgery.
Yeah, for the surgery, yeah. So you have electrolysis or on the scrotal area.
And that was the last time you saw your own genitalia again, in male genitalia?
Yeah, it was probably the day before when I was going, what the fuck you doing? I think.
The day before.
Yeah.
You said, what are you doing to yourself?
Yeah.
Oh my God. To be in your mind that day when the problems you've explained that you had
I really
at that
wanted
time.
to walk away, and I scream at myself for not doing it, and that's on me. That's my fault, my responsibility. I understand that bit. And if there's ever a lesson to be learned from this, it's trust your gut. And because I believed I was the ideal candidate. I believe this would give us, as they said, they kept saying these lines like, "Oh, it'll give you decades of extra quality life. You'll be more congruent with your body, and you won't, you can wear leggings and stuff. You won't have to tuck, and And I was like, okay, I mean, that would be good too, to not have to constantly like tuck down there, which means like flattening everything, so you don't have that, your genital bulge, as it were.
But there doesn't seem to be any consideration by the doctors or anyone to that you might, in a few years, this might just be a phase, and in a few years you might actually want to have those things, and they're gone. Yeah. And also, I would say, I know you're taking blame, and I understand that, but the reason we have a society, the reason we have doctors, the reason we have these people is to look out for society's most vulnerable. And essentially, yes, we all need to pull ourselves up a little bit, but sometimes we need a bit of help.
Yeah.
And that wasn't there.
It was there in a very sort of ideological sense, we're taking this box sort of sense, in a very like, aren't we good people, and isn't this the righteous cause that we're doing? And I don't think there's any like evil, like there's very few evil people in this whole thing wherever you look. I think most people are operating on a very human level of, is this the right thing for this person,
I feel like, but the thing, I don't believe in evil people. Well, actually, I do. I think there are psychopaths, of course, But in the most part, I don't think it's evil. It's people getting carried away by their ideologies, and I still see that as selfish, to not be able to stop and go, all right, this is a thing I think's good, but maybe it's not actually good for the person. It will make me look good to everyone.
Yeah,
it's not.
I mean, the way I would categorize that, I don't think it is as black and white as good and evil, but there is definitely people who do things very selfishly. I would call that a bad trait. Therefore, I would call that an evil trait, but I don't mean it in the biblical sense.
That's true. I see. And when you went for the surgery, had you been on these all hormones and things? So I'm looking at you now. You do have the high cheekbones and things, and you do look slightly androgynous. How much is that just genes, and how much is that because of things?
Bit of both, but like the hormones do very little to people, and I don't think people really understand that. For most guys, and this is like an untapped topic it's a difficult one to broach, that people aren't looking to become women. They're looking to be like in a childlike version of themselves, because they talk about they want to be girls. They never want to be women, right? They're like, oh, I'm one of the girls now. And what hormones do on males is it just kind of neutralizes your secondary characteristics, like your facial hair. It doesn't do anything for your bone structure, obviously. That's set when you're like 14 or 15, right? Maybe a bit older. But it doesn't, the hormones, all they do is kind of like soften your existing features, and somehow that gets interpreted as being one, but actually just look like a younger version of yourself, really.
Is that why you get so many in the trans community, so much with the anime and the sort of childish stuff going on?
Oh yeah, I mean, there is, again, the topic that I really am trying to broach, it's like it's very difficult, because obviously not everyone's the same, but there is a sense of they want to be looked after. They don't want this, because being a man in this, it's a lot of responsibility, and in terms of the world, you're expected to be the fighter, the caretaker, the guardian, and all this sort of thing. You have people who are like me, isolated, beaten and bruised from a very difficult time, maybe at school or whatever. And like, I'm not that. I don't want to be that. And they maybe not be thinking in that black and white, but the mind's desperate for an escape, and anime comes in, and it's like all very fantastical, and it's all very... And also the thing with anime, and this Genevieve Gluck said this on a little chat that we did, which is, and I didn't realize this until she said it, which was very profound, which was, anime characters show you their emotions, visually. So do you know when they're like really embarrassed and you have that red symbol in the face totally
Yes.
changes?
Yeah.
It's like it does emotions very well. So for somebody who's autistic and they may struggle with reading emotions on people, anime fills that gap very, very well.
Wow. That's fascinating. Yeah, I mean, I watched all the Studio Ghibli stuff. That's anime, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love that. I love that stuff. It's
Yeah.
really, really good. But I see that. Okay, and is it a case? Is what you're saying also? It's sort of everything's happening. Adulthood's coming along. There's all this, as you say, to be a man. There's all these pressures, and you want to arrest development for a second, and just so you can breathe and just go, hang on. Take me out of this. I'm just going to be a kid again, or not even a kid, but just I don't want this adult responsibility. Things are happening too fast, and that's being confused sometimes with I want to be a woman.
Yes, it is, and I think it also speaks to a certain misogyny of how males view women and how women view men, because you see that with a lot of the women who go through this, the young women, it's very cliched. There's always this need to be the protector, whereas the men all want to be protected. And they want to, it's either for themselves or someone else. There's almost always domestic violence in a lot of their histories. Yeah, it's very common.
So a lot of the young women who want to transition to become men, there's often some sort of wanting to protect a family.
Normally the mother.
Wow.
But it's not always that black and white. It's not always that Freudian, shall we say. But there is these are all very humane, like human instincts to want to be loved, want to be cared for, or want to protect, and the mind does some crazy things to get you through the day. And I think a lot of people are just trying to get through the day. And I mean, you often hear the line, before I transitioned, I was on the way to kill myself. And that was true to me because I had very bad mental health and I was circling the drain, and this gave me an out. It was an out from that. And of course, when you compare this wonderful world where people are saying how beautiful you are and how amazing and brave you are, and, you know, you're getting this constant validation like hit all the time versus how you were a few years ago, run up. There's no comparison. Of course, everyone's going to be like, that's way better than that. So why would I want to go back? I was going to kill myself. And I'm like, yeah, because you've got all your needs met now. You're no longer isolated. You're getting this care and compassion, and it may be fake and it may be conditional, but you're still getting it, and you weren't getting it before.
Love bombing.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Into sort of the ideology.
But who needs to be love bombed?
Vulnerable people.
Yeah, people who haven't had that, and people get kind of like clawed back, and they're like, especially some parents, and like, well, I've always loved my kid. I'm like, yeah, but they're seeking something you can't give them. They're seeking something that they need from another person, not their own parent, not their own mother or father. It has to come from someone else. And that's why you have a certain limit as a parent. And, you know, because I hear from a lot of parents who have got kids in this asking for, how do I get my kid out? I'm like, I went the full way. Why are you asking me? Shouldn't you ask somebody who stopped early on and realized maybe? I don't know.
I suppose you might be able to look back and say, this is the one thing that, if had been said to me, would have stopped me.
There was no silver bullet that would have stopped us, because it was all on the back of, I was very mentally unwell. I was very depressed, and I wanted a way out of that. And there was no like phrase that even the person who loves us the most in the world could have said to free us, because it needed to come from me. I needed that contentment. And there's also, and I know it sounds crazy, but there's a complete lack of self-compassion for people who transition for themselves. They really hate themselves. I really hated myself. I didn't want to be me. And a lot of that was due to the OCD as well. And again, it's an easy out for you, you know?
There's a lot of confusion and disagreement about the rates of detransitioning. Do you have any information about that? How often people want to detransition?
No, I think it is a minority at the moment. And again, going back to that sort of who gets loved. I mean, you detransition, you lose everything, literally everything. You lose your friend groups, you lose your support, you lose the people who have your back unconditionally. All these things that you need from a family unit or a love, or like from a partner, you get from this group. So you get ostracized in a very, very mad way, and you come extremely isolated, and now you're getting judged by everyone. So what are your options then? You can either tune out, or you can go back to retransition and have that again. Admit, actually, this was just some evil turf, like who had convinced me that I was all this sort of thing. But you know what I mean? But I mean, there are people who transition and live a life in that. But why do I need to sit and advocate for all their caveats when that doesn't happen in reverse? Nobody who is extremely happy in transition says yes, but there are some people who regret it, and we need to listen to them. You never hear that. You only hear it like a detransitioner has to put all these conditions on the table, all these caveats that a transitioner doesn't have to do. And the bar for what makes a detransitioner is up here. The bar for what makes a transitioner is down there. It's like a complete crazy double standard, but it's also terribly isolating because you're seen as a heretic, obviously. Roll credits. But you're seen as like, well, I'll use the words. I've been called all sorts, like from lion, grifting, a fascist, and all the worst things that you can possibly be called. And no one wants to be those things. So you try your best to prove otherwise, but every time you try to prove it, the more you try to prove it, the more you seem to be disproven. So it's a zero-sum game. You're always going to be either you're a bad person or a bad person is directing you. There's no individual, actually, I regret this, I shouldn't have done this. Like, so you want all transition ban? I'm like, bitch, I never fucking said that, right?
Yeah.
Did I ever say I want to ban everything? And as if I have that power, and it's crazy how much they allocate to us, detransitioners, in terms of like what power and responsibility we have, but they've got none apparently. And it's like, I don't think it works like that. Some of them really do believe in that trolley meme where, I don't know if you know it, like, do you know the trolley problem?
Do you kill three?
Yeah. Like this
thing,
is what you hear all the time. Like, well, with detransitioners, you can either let that one person get run over or you run over all the people. And I'm like, we don't have that power. Why people really believe that is an actual manifestation of how it works because I get listened to on the other side. And I tell you what, detransition, like going public and all that to me was more of a protest than anything, a protest for these surgeries. And I'm like, I care about people. I've had plenty of friends in transition and still know people in transition. I care about them. And I'm like, this is going to fuck your life up. And the chance that this will go right is extremely slim, especially if you have what I have. I'm trying to give you something that other people won't. If you want to go off and do it after hearing my story, fine. I'm not even going to tell you I told you so when it goes wrong or anything like that. I'm not interested in I told you so's. I'm interested in you having the information, having the permission for somebody to go, you don't need to do this. Or you shouldn't need to do this. And if you do it, it's not going to make your life longer. It's going to shorten it statistically. That's what we know from the research. There's been research as recent as this year and last year that has reproven time and time again that suicidality goes up massively post-surgery.
Right. Well, that's pretty important. I suppose the difficulty is people watch, and there might be people watching this now who are considering going through with the surgery.
Don't do it.
They're listening to you, but that feeling, even if I'm going to trivialize it a bit, but like, I'm going to buy these new, I don't know, I want to buy these new football boots. They're going to make me great. And then someone says, yeah, I know you think that, but it's not actually going to make any difference. You're so already connected to those football boots in your head. You so want to get them. And I think with these people, they're going to be in a desperate position right now. The only out, as you felt, is getting that transition. And if you're saying don't do it, they're in that mind now of like, I'm lost.
I mean, I wish I could personally help them, like talk through like all of them and give them that like sort of chance, but I can't really. All I can really do is put my review out there, and I know there's plenty of people who are telling us that I'm wrong or whatever, and I don't really care anymore. And it's like, I just want people to know that if you do regret it, it's like you're not a bad person for doing so, and there is a chance that it might go wrong. And I know people who There's a guy who I had a chat with on. I've got a tiny YouTube. It's the tiniest YouTube ever. And occasionally I do recorded chats with other detransitioners or whatever. And I met somebody during my surgery who we reconnected with like 5 years later, who detransitioned. He had surgery on the same day as me with the same surgeon.
To transition and or he detransitioned when you met?
No, when I was meeting him, he was in transition because he was having surgery on the same week as me.
To do the same thing. Yeah, okay.
Same doctor. And he was like, and I was like bothering him in his room and that. And he wanted to tell us to F off. But I was just like, hello. You know, anyway, we reconnected. And he had what you would say, a good result in the sense that he had very limited complications. He had very good sensation, but he shouldn't have done it. He regretted it completely. Okay. And that was on the same day, same surgeon, and it really is a coin toss like that.
Yeah,
it might go well, but you may still think, actually, when I'm on the other side of this, things are still bad. Like, I still had OCD. It was just the subject of a lot of it shifted. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I was like, this has just been such a monumental fucking waste of time. I wish I didn't do it.
If I'm a surgeon and even just two people over a number of years have detransitioned after I've done something as invasive and as huge to them, which is this divisive and controversial, that's it. I'm never doing it again.
Yeah.
And that's just two you know about. You just happen to be on the same day. There must be hundreds then. There must be many. I mean, this is insane. It's going on. Do you remember the moment you woke up from the operation and sort of had
Not really. I'd lost a lot of blood. I lost, like, I think on the table, it was like 1,600 mils. And I was like, when you come out of surgery, you're dazed anyway because you've been like pumped full of crazy drugs and anesthesia. But I lost a lot of blood and I was still bleeding. And by like day 5, I had a blood transfusion because I was kind of like borderline. And they're very reluctant to give people transfusions because of the various issues that come from them. And then as soon as I got me 2 units of blood on day 5, which was because I had surgery 2 days before my 31st birthday, I just kind of woke up and I was like, what the fuck? I was like, this is real? Oh shit. Because it just felt like a dream. It felt like it just didn't feel real at all. And then when I'm like got the blood in, I was like, uh-oh, shouldn't have done this. What have I done?
I can't imagine the panic.
Well, it's just like, oh shit, what have I done? Like, what can you do? I don't know if you've ever been driving and your car's like swerved on the back for like maybe you've took a corner too harshly. I'm a little bit of a boy racer, I must admit. And this has happened once or twice and you're just kind of like stuck in shock and you're like, oh shit, that's just happened. Oh, I better keep going then. Do you know what I mean? When your car's like swerved or did a spin or something.
Yeah.
And it's just very much like, oh, what am I doing? Okay, I'm here. And you're just trying to reorientate yourself.
Do you remember the first time you had a look?
Yeah, I was in the mirror and in the hospital, and it just kind of looked like an animal had bitten at the area. It was bruised, it was swollen, and it just looked like somebody had took a rusty knife and like cut away at it. It didn't look anything like I thought it would. And you have these suture lines in the crotch area. So if you imagine your crotch area where the bit above your genitals, that sort of triangle bit.
Yeah.
I had 2 suture lines running diagonally on each side, and both of them split wide open. And how they healed is they kind of heal internally. So I had these gashes on either side that looked like vaginal entrances, basically. It looked like I had 3 vaginas at one point, and I was like, fucking, this isn't just went bad, this is gone catastrophically wrong, and I'm a fucking freak now. And I just was like, I can't deal with this. I can't, what do you say? Like, what do? You can't take that back. You can't be like, can you like go in the rubbish and get me dick out? You know what I mean? You can't do that, can you? So your mind goes through all sorts. And at first I really tried to think, oh, this is just a post-surgery thing. I'll be fine. And then about 2 or 3 months in, when I'm at home and I'm just in agony and pain, and I'm like, what the fuck? What have I done? What have I done? Why have I done this? And I went, oh, go back to the gender clinic. Maybe they'll have an answer. And that's why I asked my gender therapist. I was like, I regret this. And he was like, oh no, you've just had major surgery and you've had all these painkillers and anesthesia, which lowers your serotonin naturally, which raises your OCD. Therefore, this is all part of the course. Don't worry about it. And then a week later, I still regret it. No, you don't. You've got really bad OCD. And then 6 months later, we'll get you reassessed. You don't regret it still. And I'm like, I fucking regret it. I'm telling you. I don't know. Like, I can sit here and say I'm trans, you believe us, but I tell you I regret it and you don't believe us. What's going on?
That's insane.
Isn't it?
That's insane. Is there a way, I mean, when you detransition, is there something that when a woman tries to be a man, can that operation happen?
Oh, the phalloplasty, the Franken penis, like that is a disaster in like how that is ever allowed to go on. Like my surgery was bad and the type of surgery I have, I'm not a fan of, obviously. But the phalloplasty, especially when people say, have you considered just getting a phalloplasty? I'm like, are you insane? Like, do you know what that entails? They take skin from your arm or your thigh, right? So it's your arm skin. They make a flesh can out of it. They attach it onto your crotch area. They re-stretch your urethra out. I mean, mine's already been shortened 3 times. And then it's like, you just meant to like function like that. And you've also got the anti-rejection meds you're on as well. So like to reject the flesh can. I know that's not very nice, but that's what it is. It looks exactly like it.
Do you know what they do with your sort of genitals? You said as a sort of joking, you throw it in the bin.
No idea. I think there was one individual, it could have been Mariam Goldsman. I think I've got that wrong, probably. But she or someone like her was talking about how the uptake in these surgeries in the 70s was all to get erectile tissue for research. So they would instantly have the surgery and they would take the hazardous material and then send it off to the lab straight away. Don't know what happens now. Apparently it all gets destroyed, but who knows?
Although I'm just thinking now, I remember hearing it, doesn't it get like sort of inverted?
Your penis does, yeah.
The penis inverted and then the balls are off.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And they can't de-invert.
No, because you've got to keep in mind, and I didn't know this because nobody explained it to me.
Yeah.
Is your penis as an organ, your male genitals go inside the body they don't just start on the outside, right? The erectile tissue, for instance, goes right in. So when you're doing an inversion, you need to get rid of that erectile tissue as much as possible, but you only get to about the knuckle. If it was like imagine you're cutting off somebody's finger, you get about the knuckle. So your knuckle can still move. You've got the base there. And that's the same for everyone. There's only so much that can get out. You get most of it, but not all of it.
And then the sort of vagina is it just a sort of
it's literally your surgeon's fingers. I'm not kidding you. Like, I can feel the finger marks of 2 fingers inside me now, and that kills me. Like, because what they do is they either use a silicone dilator during surgery to create the cavity, or the surgeon just sticks 2 fingers in and waits for a little bit. That's literally what they do. And you can kind of feel where the space of 2 fingers have been, because you've got like a figure 8 in the back rather than a hole.
This is fucking mad, man. I'm so sorry you went through that.
Sorry.
But, is there a positive? How are you now?
I mean, I've worked tremendously hard to get any sense of stability in my life. And I think speaking out probably saved my life because I wasn't doing very well. And when I realized like detransition was an option, and I say that word, it means fuck all, really. It just means I'm no longer deceiving myself or anyone else to what I am, which is a male. And there was a lot of rediscovery of, well, this whole thing about what makes a man or what makes a woman is literally your sex, everything outside that is, I don't know what the word for it would be, but sorry, what was the question again?
What do you think of people like celebrities, David Tennant and all of that, encouraging more kids to do this?
I think he's a bit of to be honest, but it shows a complete lack of knowledge, and it's very easy to be on the apparent winning side or the virtuous side, but really it seems easy for them, and it felt very much like when I first came into it, like this was some sort of civil rights frontier, right? And it is marketed that way, but it's not, because it's a civil, it's like a, what's the word? You're kind of deconstructing civil rights. So it's a deconstruction movement, but the rights that get deconstructed aren't yours, it's women's. Women have suffered horrendously through this. So, like, when I'm speaking out, there's a natural alliance. I'm not, I should say, that's not my game, like the whole women's rights thing. Like, I'm there as sort of a supporter and ally because we've got aligned aims. But just like they're not detransitioners, I'm not a feminist, if that makes sense. But we've got like similar aims in the sense that we want the harm to stop. And you see a lot of harm that has been embedded in policy for a very, 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 very small number of people. And it's having a massive impact on women as a whole. That can't be ignored. But it's quite frankly not my fight. But I'll gladly stand by them if they want us. But I don't care if they don't, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm just here to tell people, call yourself what you want, but don't do this. Like, do yourself a favor and don't do this. And all the people say, oh, it worked for me. I'm glad you're continuing to wank yourself off into self-deception, but I'm sorry, I don't think it is a healthy thing to rely on pharmaceuticals. I don't think it's a healthy thing to constantly deceive that what you have is anything but a mutilated penis. You're a castrated male if you have this. That's it. You're neutered. I'm neutered.
Does this fight give you some sense of purpose? Would it make you feel purposeful to have helped others not go down that route?
Yeah, it does. It definitely does give us a sense of helping. And I know there are people who have really, really struggled to articulate what they went through because they've reached out. I've had plenty of people reach out and tell us that I couldn't quite put it into words until you said something, or I'm glad you said something because this is bullshit. And it's like that permission to, what's the word? When you're like, when you can permit yourself to be free and honest, other people can too. It's like contagious. You know what I mean? And I like that feeling. That is a good feeling to know that you've helped people realize that, because you have to understand that the counter is either they live a very hard life of self-deception, or they have a very much shortened life because they realize that it's, as they think, it's all their fault. No one's going to give them any sympathy or the right way. You're just a perverted man who's done the stupid surgery. Haha, go away. You know? And I do think there is a, like, it's so savage out there, by the way, in social media especially, and it's like crazy how far we've came to this point where you can dehumanize people because of the crimes of others. Like, you see a lot of like the proverbial middle-aged AGP who is dressing in an insane way and doing insane things, and then all of a sudden everyone has to pay for that or has to answer for it.
That's autogynephilic men who get a sexual kick out of being women. Yeah,
I think they all do, to be honest. I think everyone gets some sort of, because you're doing it for various reasons, and I think the sexuality, like, we get told like, oh, the ones who are gay are just some innocent little gay person who couldn't accept the game. Like, no, that's a very easy trap to fall into. I think there is a motivator for sexuality across the board in this, whatever angle you come from, whether it's a dating strategy or whether it's a, like, you know, where you've got the trans maxing and you've got the gay men who are transitioning to seek a straight man sort of thing and all that sort of crap.
Was there a sexual element for you?
Oh yeah, I would say so, definitely.
That it was arousing to, and I say that with no accusation, because you can't.
It was more to be. It's very hard to put in. It wasn't from the clothes or the body. I think it was more like there was like a fantasy in my brain that was like validating, should we say? But I think there was a sexual element to it, and I think it's a lie to suggest otherwise. Even the apparent same-sex attracted ones, I'm sorry, but there is a sexual element in this.
Yeah, I can see that as well, and I know people don't want to admit that, but
No,
I think
they don't, because they don't want to be labelled as a monster or a deviant and that. And I'm like,
that's it. You
I'm
can't
sorry,
control
men
your
are.
sexual
No, you
urges, can
can't.
you?
But
We have weird stuff in our heads.
men are very different sexually to
Yes.
women,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and I think people are rushing to assign these very. And I think the typologies around autogynephilia are probably right, but it's very out of date, and I don't think it's accounted for, like, say, the younger generations, because I think there's like a generational difference, like the difference between a middle-aged transitioner and a young transitioner, regardless of which angles both of them come out, is massively different, because it's all based off, I think, your sexism of the time, which is why you have like certain Gen X's, Gen X transitioners who are well into like the whole goth thing. They want to be goth girls and all that, and the older ones want to be bimbos, and the younger ones want to be anime, and it just follows this pattern of whatever the sexism is in your time.
Trend. Personal question: are you able to orgasm?
No.
So that's that. From that moment, that's just been gone from your life.
Yeah.
I mean, how does that make you feel?
I feel like I'm missing out. I feel like I kind of got what I wanted in a way, because it's that whole Arrested Development thing kicking in. It's like, oh, I don't have to worry about sex now, and I'm only really interested in like games and TV and maybe cars and stuff, right? And it's like, that's a very childish.
You don't have attraction for people?
Oh, I would say I have attraction. It's been dampened massively, 100%.
You might sometimes see a man and think, oh, he's good looking.
Yeah, there was a few on the train this morning, like, you know what I mean? And like, I definitely do have attraction, but I don't have the ooh feeling that you get, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very difficult to navigate.
Do you think a lot of people who transition, I mean, can any really sort of orgasm afterwards?
I think they can, yeah. I'm pretty sure they can. Yeah.
Something went significantly wrong then.
I don't think it's unusual, what I went through. A lot of the research says that 1 in 6 and I hate the language they use. The language is all fucked across the board. It's like insensate, which is a polite way to say you've got no sensation. And it's 84% are sensate in a corner. Like, I'm trying to remember the study off by heart. But it was like basically 1 in 6 have got no sensation. Off that one study, I think it's way higher.
Because even in that 5 or 6 who have some sensation, it's probably not going to be quite right, and maybe some people want to tell themselves they still have more than they.
Yeah, and I think there's also that. Again, remember that fantasy of who you are, and that plays a big part in your own sexuality. That drive. Yeah. So if your drive's still there, then you may be able to like have something that resembles an orgasm, but your penis is literally being turned inside out. It's ridiculous, to think that you're gonna get a normal functioning orgasm there.
Have you had relationships?
Yeah, I'm in a relationship.
Well, that's good.
It is. Yeah.
That's some positivity. Yeah. Because it is a difficult subject, and sometimes it's nice to go, okay, well, there's something. I mean, look, it's real life, isn't it? Real life doesn't always have a happy ending, but that's nice that you're in a relationship.
Yeah, and we do get intimate. I like the intimacy itself. It's really, I can't really put the words into it, and it's like, I don't want to be cliche and say, oh, there's more to life than sex, but I like his satisfaction, that's satisfying to me, and you can call it a corp if you want, but it's something.
Intimacy is a lot.
It is.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
No one wants to admit that, do they? It's sex, the actual stuff, no. But the intimacy is huge.
Like cuddling and just being with them and being like, I don't know, it's just being with someone, how it is. It's nice to be with someone.
I think most people, if they had to choose one or the other, they would go with intimacy. I'd like to think that maybe a lot of, definitely not women, but a lot of men might be watching this going, what are you talking about? Oh, I couldn't do that. I think the intimacy is really, really important. You'd be
surprised how many men just want intimacy and not sex as well.
I think that's true. Do you think there's a bit of a turning point with how people are viewing gender and trans?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, it's the political stuff. I think it's a bit dangerous to start like legislating against certain things, because that can, not because it'll lead on to other things, but because it can get undone. If it's a political move, it can be reversed easily enough. But when it comes from the medical institutions, it's much more difficult to reverse that. And the best example is lobotomies. We don't practice lobotomies anymore because the medical institution have realized that there are much better ways to treat the issues that lobotomy was trying to treat, but also it's not really a treatment. And there was a big kick up in I can't remember the lady's name, but it was a woman she was a young woman. She got lobotomized, and there was a huge outroar because she really shouldn't have. It was like a stupid case. Like, I say stupid, it was like a stupid reason that the partner or the father got her lobotomized. And that put an end to it. And I think if you really want to end negative practices, it needs to be done from an informed medical approach rather than political, because the political is a slope you do not want to get on. That can go a very unpredictable way. And I don't like the idea of the state having all that sanctioned power on an adult. And I think what should happen is it should be an informed approach. And I think this has been, we've tried to do, I say we as a collective, we've tried to do the research into this. But if you look at, say, the Swedish study in 2011, which talked about the outcomes of transsexuals in Sweden from 1970, I think it was 71 to 2011, and they found like it had this crazy high mortality rate, and there was various reasons. And, you know, it was like if you go through transition, statistically, and it's more to do with the group, that group's 17 times likely more to kill themselves than the general population. If that population goes through surgery, it's 19 times. And a more recent study about the surgeries I was saying earlier it's shown that there's a 12 times increase in suicidality for post-surgery. So I think the stats are there. I think we'll have the information. I think people can't accept it though. And I just want to know why. I don't know the reasons why. I think it's just went this way, not from any like horrific, maligned evil who has designed it. I think it's just been a collective good intentions pave the way to hell sort of thing.
Unfortunately, it's all sounds so similar to the gay civil rights movement, I think. So there's so much of, we don't want to stop people doing this thing because that's what people did to gay people. And they don't realize they need to look a bit deeper to see these are totally different issues.
I think it's very easy to put it into that box and be like a David Tennant and be like, oh, I'm part of the civil rights movement. And I really did feel like I was part of some major change as well. That was a big draw in. It was like, oh, I'm being me, and that even me being me, which isn't me, someone else, is part of this huge rebellion that no one's ever really heard of. But really, desistance is the real resistance, because the crowd's telling you you're wrong, and I'm just sitting there going, fuck you. You know what I mean?
I've got one more question for you, but first, where can people follow your work? You mentioned a YouTube channel.
I've got a tiny YouTube, but I'd rather people just follow me on Twitter, at Tulip with 2 L's R, or you can just search Ritchie Herron, which is my name, on Twitter, and you'll find me on there.
Who's a heretic you admire?
Oh my God, I've thought a lot about this question. There are individuals and there are groups, but me personally, there's a guy who runs a website, and this may sound totally like bizarre or not, but it's called Joshua Moon, and he runs a site called Kiwi Farms. And a lot of the information that we have these days comes from that and Redux. And Joshua has essentially rebuilt his own little corner of the internet in the most superb way imaginable, because he got targeted for years, and they're still trying to get him offline now. And he's just persevered through it, and I really do enjoy that site, and I'll probably get slated for that, but I don't care. It's seeing that site where it has there's a thread about SRS regret and stuff. I saw that too late. I wish I saw that thread before I had surgery. And that thread alone, I know for a fact, has stopped people getting surgery. Because it's the truth.
I'm sure you have as well. So thank you for that. And people, please do follow Ritchie's work, go to his Twitter, look at Kiwi Farms as well. We'll put a few links in the description. Keep watching and hit the like button. I've got a couple more questions for Ritchie that are going to go out on Substack that you guys have asked. So go to andrewgoldheretics.com and we've got a couple more questions over there.